and welcome back to my channel. My name is Jen, and today's video is going to be a stats video for the first half of 2022 and a discussion of my goals for the rest of the year. So far, 2022 has been a really good reading year. I have discovered, I don't want to say new things, but I'm definitely, I think, reading differently than I was last year in a very good way. So I just thought I would share some of the stats that I had and then kind of talk about the goals that I had set for myself at the beginning of the year and kind of a progress report on where I'm at and what I'm planning to accomplish for the rest of the year. So far through June of 2022, I have finished 58 books. I have DNF'd 3, so 58. My goal at the beginning of the year was 70. So we are doing really well there. So far this year, I have read 18,525 pages. I also set a page goal for myself at the beginning of the year of 30,000. So we are well on our way of accomplishing that. In terms of genre, I tend to just think about books in terms of subgenre. So my least read genres so far this year have been thriller with 1 book, historical fiction with 1 book, and historical romance with 1 book. I have read 9 sci-fi books, and I'm pretty sure those are all saga. I have read 9 fantasy romance, 14 fantasy. So this would probably be obviously straight fantasy, but also YA that is fantasy, because those are usually, even though they may have a romance in them, they are usually primarily fantasy. And 25 contemporary romance. I think that's the biggest shocker for me. I tend to consider myself a more of a fantasy romance reader. And this year I have really embraced contemporary romance in all its forms. This includes dark romance and pure smut, and just anything that has a contemporary setting falls into this bucket. But despite the fact that it's not my norm, I'm really okay with this. I am enjoying the ridiculous amount of contemporary romance that I am reading, and I'm just going to continue to read more. I will not be surprised. I would not be surprised if at the end of the year that contemporary romance is at least 50%. I have read 9 comics, 6 novellas, 4 graphic novels. They're all this. And then 41% is a regular novel. I prefer regular novels. Novellas are usually too short, and I don't read a ton of graphic novels and comics, but I think those are mostly 2 series. So your comics is saga, your graphic novels is hardstopper. This fact I found very interesting is that of those 58 books, 20 of them are self-published. The primary publisher of the books I'm reading are self-published authors. I have given one book 1 star, and I'm pretty sure that was a DNF. 4 3 stars, 3 2 stars, 15 5 stars, and 28 4 stars. I have a couple of videos coming about this, but I have realized that I think I know my tastes pretty well. So a majority of the books I read hit that 4-star mark, because for me, 3 stars are just meh, or okay, they're fine. Anything below a 3-star, there's probably something wrong with it, at least in my interpretation of it. My opinion is that there's something wrong. Of 3 stars are just okay. 5 stars give you that that feeling. Like most 5-star books are just ones that just feel a certain way when you finish them. But a majority of my reading hits that 4-star mark, which I think is good, because really good is okay for me. If I am reading primarily books that I find to be really good, I think I'm able to pick out the books that I'm actually going to enjoy better. In terms of age category, I'd say read 1 middle grade. I DNF'd it. I may go back to it at some point, but me and middle grade are not jiving at the moment. I read 4 new adult books, 16 young adults, and 39 adult, which I am very happy with. I think finding myself in that, as I've mentioned this a couple of times, but I am reading less YA now than I ever have. Right now, if you tell me a book is YA, I automatically am just like, maybe not. It's nothing with the book. It's just my enjoyment of it is probably going to be less at this point. I have my YA authors that I will continue to support, assuming that we can, you know, that they're still producing things that I like enjoy. But primarily, if you come to me and be like, oh, hey, this new book is YA, I will immediately go, maybe not, which is unfortunate, but is where my reading is going. My reading, as I've mentioned, has evolved quite a bit in the last 12 months. And I'm just, you know, I think hitting that new adult sweet spot is where I'm having the most enjoyment. So I want to just continue to, it is 65, adult is 65%, so we might see it, maybe new adult come in a little bit higher, but I'm actually completely fine with this breakdown. In terms of LGBTQ plus rep, I have read 16 books with no representation, 13 where it is present, and 31 where one of the main characters identifies as LGBT. This is a thing that I usually don't have a hard time, like there's the goals I have here. I read LGBT a lot, and that's not a bragging point, but like I don't have a problem getting really high statistics for this section. What I have been focusing on this year has been reading more across the acronym, I guess is the best way to put it. I tend to read a lot of male romance, and one of the things that I have been consciously working towards is reading more sapphic, more books with trans or non-binary characters, or just bisexual characters, regardless of what kind of dynamic their relationship is. So that is one of the things that I have been working on. A place where I do need to continue to be conscious of what I am reading is POC rep. Only 5 of the books that I've read so far this year have POC authors, and that is not okay. I have the books, I just need to make a more conscious effort to read them. It is one of the reasons that I am using TBR Takedown the Wheel. Not that it needs to be a prompt, but it puts that in front of me, and I am still consciously I need to be more conscious in making decisions as I'm reading the books on my shelf that I have, and also in what I'm acquiring, making a better effort there. That is something that is important to me. It should be important to everyone. And it is something I would like to see grow before the end of the year. I don't know if I want to put a goal against it, but it's probably a good idea. But it's currently 8.3% of my reading, and I would like to at least to get it to 10. It should be more, but the goal is to increase that number. In terms of where I got my books, 90% of them come from my TBR, whether it's my physical TBR or my ebooks that I have already acquired. Most of them come from there. Everything else, all 6 books, comes from Kindle Unlimited, which I discovered this year, and have at least through September, and I don't know if I'm going to continue it, but I do not read a lot digitally. So that I can't find the statistic on here, but it's a very small percentage. A lot of what I read is a physical book that I own. 20% or 12 books were rereads this year. I've been doing a lot of rereading to continue series, as continuing series is a goal that I'm going to talk about in a second, but is very high on my priority list this year. And then obviously 80% of them were reads for the first time, as I am discovering new books, discovering new genres, or expanding my consumption of those genres, reading some things for the first time, which is fantastic because it gets the books off my TBR. And in terms of series, I have started, and this includes series that I've restarted that I had previously finished. So for example, I restarted the Mortal Instruments series earlier this year. That starts as a counting of a new series because I am starting a reread of the whole thing, but I have started 24 series this year, which, again, as I'm reading things off my shelf, is great, except that means there's more things to read because I've only read 16 sequels. I have finished five series. talking about my goals for the rest of the year, that is pretty okay with where I wanted to be. But I've also DNF'd 3, which means I read the first, usually means that I read the first book in the series, which is part of that 24, and decided that this series was not for me. So for example, I read The Capital by A.H. Lee very early on this year. It is a book 1 in I think a trilogy that I own it's a digital box set for. I read the first book, decided that I was not going to continue. So while that counts as a start, it also counts as a DNF. I have read 17 new to me authors so far this year that I'm so excited for. I love new authors. I feel like once you get your like stable of authors, you're basically just in this waiting game for new books, but bringing in new authors is super exciting to me. And I have read 31 individual authors so far this year. The #1 read author is Brian K. Vaughan, who wrote the Saga series, followed by Alice Oseman. So I'm okay with that. Those are all my statistics for the first half of the year, and now I'm just going to kind of talk over what my goals were at the beginning of the year and what I am going to be doing throughout the rest of this year. So at the beginning of the year, I set a reading goal of 70 books. Even with the 2 July, it is July 9th, so even with the 2 July books that were not on the original thing, I am at 60 books, which puts 70 really close. So I think what I'm going to do in terms of goals is to actually, once I hit 70, I will increase my goal to 90. Last year I read 89 books, so one more from last year is kind of the goal for this year. However, if I continue reading the way I have been reading, 90 is going to come, and I'm gonna say it's gonna come and go. I will surpass 90. So my stretch goal for the year is 100. I have never read 100 books in a year. Last year was the closest I've ever gotten. But the rate I am reading right now means that I will hit 100 books before the end of the year. That is the goal there. And I kind of just want to hit the stretch goal because I wanted to say I did it, even if it's just once. My next goal was to read 3 classics, and I have been failing this one miserably. I have not read a single one. So one of the things that I did was add on my TBR takedown wheel, there is a prompt for classics. I kind of want to put it on there more than once so I can get it so I can have a better shot of getting it. But I have a number of I'm not a big classics reader. But I own quite a few that I do want to read for a multitude of different reasons. I've never read Pride and Prejudice. I kind of want to watch an adaptation, but I feel like I can't until I've read the book. I want to read The Picture of Dorian Gray. I want to read Wuthering Heights because apparently it's angsty. And we know how I feel about that. So those are probably the 3 that I do want to read this year. So I'm going to continue, like everything else, kind of make a concerted effort to get those onto a TBR. They are on the wheel, so hopefully they come up. And then we will hopefully, at least if I can get to 1, the real goal is 3. If I can get to 1, I will be happy. One of the other goals I set was to finish 10 series. We are currently at 5, and I am trying really hard to finish about a series a month. I don't think July has anything to finish, unless I can sneak a couple of extra things in. But my goal for every month really is to get 1 series completed. I'm really glad that Steph from Steph Loves is doing the final book support group, because I love that readathon to help me finish series. So I've got 5 more to go. I think it's doable. There's some stuff which I'm really excited. There's some stuff on my July TBR that has sequels, which I might just throw on to August. We'll see. I have thoughts, but 5 more series I need to finish before the end of the year to achieve that goal. And the one we're not gonna hit, and I know we're not gonna hit it, is getting my physical TBR down to 170 books. We are currently at 169, and I don't think that's 100% accurate. So either way, there's no way in hell I'm reading 100 more books before the end of the year. So this is something I talk about in my TBR takedown video, which if you have not watched, I will link wherever it gets linked and down below. Basically, I am using my monthly TBR game I'm calling TBR takedown, and for every book on my physical TBR that I read, I get 2 points, which allows me to potentially buy more books. And then I'm also using the TBR takedown wheel, which has prompts on it that are very specific to my shelves, where I have multiple books by the same author that need to get read, where I have series that need to get finished, where I have, I don't know, just books that I need to read. Those have all been placed on that wheel, and then every month I will spin it in an effort to get my physical TBR down without bringing in a lot of other books. We'll see how this actually goes, and hopefully I net out at least where I need to be. But the new goal for the year is 125, I believe. Is 125, and so far I have finished 12 physical books, so I am counting, the actual game is getting counted from the beginning of June. Again, I list all of my exceptions and my rules in that other video. Basically, for every 10 books I read, I can buy one without having to penalize myself. It's basically a book buying ban until I've hit these points. As of this morning, I have 38 more books that need to get read before the end of the year, and obviously if we get anywhere near 90, that's the majority of it. We're definitely gonna have to hit 100 to win this, to achieve this goal, but I think it's gonna be all right. What also counts here is unhauls, and I do have an unhaul coming, I think this week, I don't remember. But I am going to go through and try to unhaul some books. Some of these might be books that I've already read. And again, anything that I've read and I'm either rereading or unhauling does not count towards any of this. But I do have an unhaul coming, which will help get this number down faster. So I'm really excited about that. I think it's time, as I've discussed, my YA reading has gone down significantly over the last 12 months, and I think it's time to get rid of the books that I'm just never going to get to because they're in a genre that I'm just not interested in anymore. All right, that is everything for this video. Comment down below and let me know what your most important goal for the rest of 2022 is. I think mine is going to be increasing. Actually, I know mine is going to be increasing the number of BIPOC authors that I am reading and making sure that statistic is higher by the time we check in at the end of the year. Please give this video a thumbs up if you've liked it, and subscribe if you have not already. I would greatly appreciate it. And that is everything for today. I will see you in the next one. Bye.